An increasing number of Democrat officials facing serious federal charges are providing a desperate list of excuses as to why they shouldn't be facing prison time. Some Democrats are even crying out with claims that those being charged are being targeted by President Trump or others appointed by the president. An interesting update on one of these cases today, as New Orleans City Council President Jayson Williams attacked his own indictment on tax charges, asking for a dismissal. Williams, a Democrat, has argued that prosecutors were politically motivated when they convened a grand jury to indict him on June 26th. An 11-count indictment accuses Williams and his law partner of conspiring to claim more than $700,000 in excessive deductions over the 5 tax years ending with 2017. Besides his claims that the indictment was politically motivated, Williams has tried coming up with other excuses as to why he shouldn't be facing these charges at this time, using excuses like the ongoing health crisis and, as he says, its disparate burden on the black population and its possible effect on grand juror attendance. Notably, this case is being prosecuted by U.S. Attorney David Joseph, who was appointed by President Trump. Back in 2018, President Trump announced that the White House was selecting the career federal prosecutor to lead the Lafayette-based U.S. Attorney's Office. On Friday, federal prosecutors also acknowledged that Williams' ex-wife, Bridget Bartholomew, daughter of former mayor, another Democrat, Sidney Bartholomew, is a cooperating witness against Williams. Meanwhile, a separate case against 4 Democrats in Ohio has triggered a similar response. 4 Toledo City Council members facing federal charges of bribery and extortion have responded, saying that they've done nothing wrong and have refused to step down. This includes Larry Sykes, Yvonne Harper, Gary Johnson, and Tyrone Riley. Now, in a more recent update, the mayor has requested that the Ohio Attorney General start suspension proceedings for the 4 city council members. However, some Democrat supporters are already trying to claim that these 4 corrupt officials should never have been arrested at all. Essentially, their reasoning seems to be that it would make the Democrats look bad and somehow help President Trump in the upcoming election. Earlier this week, the Toledo Blade, a local media source, published this letter to the editor with the title, "Consider the Bigger Picture." The author of this letter, presumably another Democrat, without providing any real evidence, accuses law enforcement of being involved in an elaborate conspiracy. Very interesting that the media happened to publish this letter out of all of the possible responses to this case. The author opens saying residents of Toledo were justifiably dismayed by the arrest of 4 black council members for bribery last week, but it is fair to ask if presidential politics are behind this case. After all, the arrest and charges are by the FBI and a federal assistant attorney, both part of the U.S. Justice Department, which is headed by Attorney General William Barr. No other Attorney General in memory has so forsaken the independence of the Justice Department and aligned himself so closely to the president, the author claims. Author of this letter goes on to say, for a president who has based a good part of his election campaign on racist appeals and who appears to be employing the same strategy for re-election, it will be very convenient to have a trial of the 4 smeared across the news outlets of swing state Ohio just before the election. Finally, I want to look at some info on a third separate recent case against another Democrat in Mississippi. Moss Point Mayor Mario King and his wife were indicted last week on federal fraud charges. Moss Point Mayor Mario King and his wife Natasha have been indicted on 13 charges of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit fraud that allege they bought a Volvo and a pedigreed dog with money they raised for mental health services in Moss Point. The indictment was unsealed Friday when the couple made their initial appearance in U.S. District Court. The indictment accuses Mario King, 33 years old, and Natasha King, 32, of defrauding contributors from late 2018 or early 2019 until May of 2019 of money meant to primarily benefit Moss Point youth. While some of the money covered the cost of a mayor's gala for the fundraising, the Kings also used proceeds for personal expenses, the indictment says. In April of 2018, they created a company called Rejuvenate, and Natasha King opened a bank account for the company. The indictment details mental health contributions the Kings spent from the Rejuvenate account after they started soliciting donations and promoted the fundraiser through local media. Later on, they continue saying the 13 wire fraud charges are related to transfers of donations from PayPal to the Rejuvenate account, plus withdrawals from the account for the personal expenses. The fraud was uncovered in a multi-agency federal and state investigation, according to a news release from the office of Mike Hurst, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi. The news release says the Kings advertised the March 2019 gala through a written solicitation that, quote, honors and supports organizations that are making a difference for the mental health community. Quote, proceeds support the efforts of mental health in the city of Moss Point with a focus on the Moss Point School District, converting spaces into a therapeutic and innovative learning environment. A federal grand jury indicted the Kings on June 10th. Judge Walker ordered the indictment unsealed when the Kings appeared before him Friday morning with Ocean Springs attorney Tyler Cox. The Kings each face up to 20 years in prison on each wire fraud charge and up to 5 years on the conspiracy charge. The same article also points out how Mario King's mayoral tenure was marked by controversy. King, a Democrat, was elected mayor in June 2017 at age 30. Mario King had already been arrested for assault on multiple occasions before he became mayor. Then, following his election, Mario King and his wife faced charges over an altercation between the two. Police arrived at their home, and King's wife filed a police report against the mayor, but charges were eventually dismissed after both refused to speak. Other previous scandals involving King include a suit filed against the mayor in June of 2019 from another Moss Point alderman alleging that he had been the victim of the mayor's harassment and threats. Morris claimed that the mayor tried to have him forcibly arrested after Morris questioned King's spending. In a later incident at a restaurant, tempers flared between the two men and King allegedly spat at the alderman, causing a disturbance that restaurant employees reported to police. Also in 2019, 11 current and former employees sued King and the city, alleging that the mayor discriminated against them based on their age and race because he wanted to run off non-millennial employees. In addition, 4 white firefighters claimed King harassed them because of their race. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about any of these recent updates. And thanks again, everyone, for remembering to give this video a thumbs up. Click the like button. It's another quick way to help spread this info. It seems just about every social media site, including YouTube, is doing anything they can to stop this type of information from getting out there. Please make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Also, another place where you can find me, I am over on Twitter. @RealityReader is my name over on Twitter. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody who has supported the channel over at Patreon or PayPal. Even a few dollars makes a huge difference. Helps me keep talking about these issues. Patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader. You can find both links down in the video description where you can support this channel directly. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.